Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope I find you well. Hope you've enjoyed the recent episodes that have come your way. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for commenting, sending the messages, always so appreciated and never taken for granted. Now, if you do want to get in touch, there are plenty of ways of doing so. You can either do it through the socials, just search Three Lions Podcast, give it a follow, send me a message through there. Or you can email me direct, threelionspodcast@gmail.com, spell three out, T-H-R-E-E. Always up for a chat there. If you've got any ideas for the show, by all means, throw them at me. Obviously, the World Cup is fast approaching, and this episode is a mixture of perhaps my own thoughts. I don't think I'm going to get into a rant, but I've managed to squeeze in some of the facts that have hampered the run-up to this year's finals. As I've said before, I don't begrudge anyone who is going. My intention at this moment in time, I'm not going. Although, if I'm honest, I have entered some competitions to go. But as you'd expect, nothing so far. So it's likely I'll be watching the games from my own front room or the pub. So the other day, I posted a reply on Twitter, X, whatever you refer to it as. This was to a post by Adam Crafton from The Athletic, who on the 14th of April said, current NJ, New Jersey, transit plans for the return train from New York Penn Station to MetLife Stadium during the World Cup are for tickets to be priced at over $100. Usual price is $12.90, making it more than a seven-fold increase for World Cup fans. I replied, or quoted, one of the two, that there needs to be a list or a timeline of events that has happened around this World Cup so that things like this don't happen again. And I'll return to Adam's tweet as this episode goes on. A day or so went by and I thought about it a bit more and decided, actually, why don't I do this list for the podcast? Now, before I start, I know every World Cup or Euros have had their scare stories. I've mentioned them before. But this one seems to have had more than its fair share. Obviously, in recent memory, we've had both Russia in 2018 and Qatar in 2022. And all that went with them shouldn't be forgotten. But I think in the lead up to both of those, they were given a lot of coverage by international media, or mainstream media, if you will. Migrant workers died in the construction of stadia in both countries. Russia had annexed Crimea. And who can forget the likes of Dan Rowan from the BBC interviewing the Qatar World Cup Secretary General about the country's human rights record, or Gary Lineker speaking out too. To me, it feels that the international media world, well, they aren't putting as much pressure on FIFA, and indeed the USA, as they did previously with Russia and Qatar and FIFA. I may be wrong, but it seems that fans are up in arms and it's left to independent media, bloggers, YouTubers, podcasters, to shout about their grievances.
So we have a winner for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The member associations of Canada, Mexico and USA have been selected by the FIFA Congress to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Thank you.
Obviously, it's far too late for anything to change now. And in all honesty, when the hosts for this tournament were announced on the 13th of June 2018 at the FIFA Congress, this was the day before the opening game at the Russian tournament, it was never going to go anywhere else. I think it's unfortunate that everyone is generally forgetting that Canada and Mexico are part of this World Cup, along with the United States. Now, I know Mexico had an issue recently in Guadalajara with regards to violent cartel unrest, but that seems to have simmered down now. So I've tried to put together a timeline of how events in America have unfolded, coupled with FIFA's horrific price gouging, which should be something that future World Cups and fans going to them don't have to suffer, to endure, or even experience again. So let's call this my essay on the disillusionment of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. So, where to start? And I'll say now, I'm sure that there will be a few things that I miss out, so feel free to let me know. Also, I know previously I've said I try not to mix politics with the podcast, but simply there is no getting away with it on this subject. And anyway, FIFA President Gianni Infantino, he started it back in 2018 when he said ahead of that Russian World Cup that politics should stay out of football. Now look where he is. First and foremost, I think during the qualifying period, where the football counted, fans were generally excited, optimistic, maybe intrigued about going to the States. They knew that it would be a little more expensive. Things generally are now, here, there and everywhere. Plus, as England fans, as we didn't take part in 1994, it was a chance for many of us to see us there competitively. October the 14th last year, 2025, saw us beat Latvia 5-0 and seal our place there. 2.5 years before, though, on the 1st of March 2023, FIFA announced that this tournament would be expanded to accommodate 48 teams, an increase of 16 more from those that had participated in Qatar. Was that when the disillusionment started? It meant that the group stages would become a little more diluted, with many finishing in third, getting through to the knockout rounds. There we have an extra round, the round of 32. Thing is, once these things are in place, I can't ever see them being taken back. Even now, before the tournament, I can see FIFA saying that this one has been a success. Back in June of 2025, Infantino had already referred to the World Cup coming up as being 104 Super Bowls within a month. A phrase that, well, it left a nasty taste in fans' mouths. Just that phrase. So I'm going to throw this one into the timeline as well. March 2025, Iran, they drew 2-2 with Uzbekistan and qualified for the tournament. They were the third team to qualify. Now, in the past, tensions had been high between Iran and the USA, but little did they know what was coming their way. Now, speaking of expansions, the Club World Cup, another of FIFA's tournaments, was held in the summer of 2025. Previously, it's been a tournament that featured 7 teams every 4 years. It was never a competition taken that seriously by English or European clubs. Leading up to this, we had seen an uncomfortable to watch friendship of sorts unfolding between Infantino and American President Donald Trump. They were both in the Oval Office showing off the new trophy for this bigger tournament. And Infantino later on would be seen wearing one of those red Trump baseball caps. Now, FIFA, in their wisdom, decided to change the format of the Club World Cup from 7 teams to 32 teams. It was a revamp. It was seen as a money spinner. And it was begin in America, which made sense as a trial ahead of the World Cup. 11 host cities. How would they cope with fans? The chance to have a look at the infrastructure, all those sort of things that are needed. But what it really resulted in was a tournament that lacked interest, highlighted by poor ticket sales and attendances. 3,400 only turning up to watch Japanese side Ulsan play South African side Mamelodi Sundowns. Unbalanced matches too. Bayern Munich beating Auckland City 10-0. Then there was the interruption of games due to the weather. The heat had an effect, as did the heavy storms. Electrical thunderstorms saw games disrupted, some between 45 minutes to 2 hours. This meant that not only the players had to retreat to the dressing rooms, but also fans had to take refuge in the safety of the concourses. Chelsea went on to win the title, and Trump found himself front and centre of the trophy celebrations. But overall, I think that tournament has come at the expense of player well-being. Too many games when the players really should have been having a break, something FIFPro had warned and already expressed concerns about. But despite all these issues, FIFA appear to want to expand this tournament already to 48 teams for the next edition, scheduled to be held in 2029. Let's head to the 5th of December 2025. It's time for the World Cup draw. Of the 48 teams, 44 of them would know where they were heading. But there were still 4 European playoffs to be decided. The draw was held at the Kennedy Center in Washington. Now, there'd been talk in the lead up to it of the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize being awarded as part of the event. The general consensus was that the recipient would be Trump. And lo and behold, he was awarded the trophy and a medal to boot, which he duly put around his neck himself.
FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, awards the 2025 FIFA Peace Prize, Football Unites the World, to Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, in recognition of his exceptional and extraordinary actions to promote peace and unity around the world. Friday, December 5th, 2025. This is the certificate. It's yours.
Thank you very much. This is truly one of the great honors of my life.
The Peace Prize, well, it's been mocked ever since, especially following Trump's invasions of late. One of the big changes to the 2022 Qatar World Cup was its date in the calendar. Changed because of the heat the country experiences. It was changed to accommodate its cooler time of the year. America, too, as we've found out, is subject to intense heat. It was learnt from the Club World Cup. But FIFA decided to revert to the traditional European summer tournament this time around. And on the 8th of December, they announced that every game, regardless of where it's being played, USA, Canada or Mexico, whether it's chucking down with rain or cool and cloudy, or if the stadium has a roof, will feature a 3-minute drinks break in each half. FIFA said the measure is being introduced to, I quote, prioritise player welfare. Of course, we all looked at it slightly differently. It sends the message that it's an opportunity for broadcasters to cut to an advertising break. How this will pan out for TV viewers remains to be seen. Will it be an on-screen advert with the visuals of the players drinking from branded bottles? Or will it be a total cut away from the pitch and a total advert break? Players taking a drinks break with the manager giving instructions has been a scenario that has crept into the game in recent seasons. It's not something I'm particularly keen on, but perhaps FIFA have turned this into an acceptable situation, and the American four halves scenario is becoming a reality. Now, once the draw had been made, England fans knew who and where we were playing, and people began to plan. Turns out, Airbnb, back in June 2025, became a partner of FIFA and the World Cup. Now, I'm not telling you anything new here, but when demand is high, people will increase their prices. But stories began to appear that hosts were cancelling bookings and then relisting them at inflated prices. As I say, this is nothing new. Hotels have been doing this years gone by. Although some city hotels are actually saying there is a lack of demand. And is this because of the disinterest being shown for going to America? According to the independent newspaper, international visits to the country were down 5.5% in 2025 compared to 2024, although it has to be said that a high percentage of those not travelling were from Canada. Understandable. Along with accommodation, fans need tickets. The initial round of sales had already begun in the form of a ballot, but once we knew our dates, opponents and venues, fans could apply for those specific tickets. However, the prices announced were eye-watering, and this was just the start. Category 3, supporter value, against Croatia in Dallas were $265. Works out at £198. Ghana in Boston and Panama in New Jersey were both $220, £165. All of these for just 8% of the stadium capacity. Obviously, categories 2 and 3 were significantly higher. And as you would expect, eyes began to look towards the cost of a final ticket. Category 3, $4,185. Category 2, $5,575. And Category 1, $8,680. Whichever teams make it to the final, for fans to take in every game, in pounds, you're looking at roughly 5,000. Now add on your flights, your accommodation, your daily living. The realisation of the costs were beginning to kick home. Outrage is an understatement. And this is one thing the mainstream media did like to highlight. And FIFA did take some notice. They introduced a small number of affordable tickets, priced at $60, about 45 quid. However, there were only about 400 of these per game. The question being asked was, how do you determine who gets that ticket? It's a hollow token gesture by FIFA. Earlier in the summer, Oasis had reformed and played across the world to huge demand. Even before they'd taken to the stage, there was outrage at ticket prices and what's called dynamic pricing. And this possibly was our first real introduction to the American model of selling tickets, where prices increase with demand. And as fans would find out, FIFA had also opted for this system, where fans could resell their tickets for more than face value. And of course, FIFA would take their percentage cut. And there soon became stories of final tickets costing in the region of $11,000. Now, if you'll excuse me for jumping way ahead in the timeline for a brief moment, let me take you to the 24th of April. Sky News were reporting that 4 tickets for the final on the 19th of July at the MetLife in New Jersey were now on sale on FIFA's official exchange website for, let me get this right, $2,299,998.85. Works out at 1.7 million each. And there's 4 tickets there. 15% of that, of course, would go to FIFA. Now, I very much doubt that these tickets will actually sell for this amount. You never know. But again, it's just one of those stories, one of those scenarios, one of those issues in this whole lead up to the World Cup that as fans, it just makes you feel sick. All this in comparison to tickets for the 2022 Qatar World Cup, just for the group stage, Category 3, those seats were £68.50. All this and our very own Football Association, RFA, who were founded in October 1863, an organisation who oversee our national team, an organisation who operate a supporters club to look after the fans, you, me, the ones that follow the team, home and away, all over the world, and they charge us for the privilege of doing so. That FA have said absolutely nothing about it. And whilst I wouldn't expect the players to say much, it's a shame no one has stuck their head above the parapet. Even one who isn't likely to be going as part of the squad. Players are too robotic these days. It has to be said that Debbie Hewitt, she's the chair of the FA and has been since January 2022. She is also a vice president on the FIFA Council. She is one of 3 from UEFA. And I think there you can see the problem. Many fans will go to the World Cup without a ticket, just purely to feel part of it, watching games either in bars or at fan zones. Fan zones were introduced for the 2006 German World Cup. They received a great reception. They're generally a large outside area with a big screen and various food and drink stalls. It's a great opportunity to mix with fans from other countries. And they've always been free and well organised. And I can say that from experience. Now, it appears there will be fan festivals this year in host cities. But taking a look at the FIFA website, they will try anything to take money from you. Taking a look at Atlanta, there is free admission, but there is also an admission ticket that includes a private restroom, bar and viewing area for between $45 to $60. There is also a VIP package, drinks, food stations, air conditioning areas for between $225 to $325. This for just one day? Kansas City, they also have a similar setup. But the fan park in New Jersey, the Liberty State Park, that has been scrapped already. This after tickets had already been sold, and with no real reason given for its cancellation, other than it became increasingly clear that there was no workable, cost-effective way to manage tens of thousands of fans into Liberty State Park whilst maintaining access to the members of the Jersey City community, a spokesperson said. Now, if you've decided to hire a car, see some of the sights and drive to a game, seems sensible. Just like Airbnb, Just Park are an official partner of FIFA for the World Cup. Let's take a look at our game in Dallas against Croatia as an example. I'm on the website now. Prices for a spot range from $125 to $500 to park your car. And of course, FIFA will take a cut. And with driving to the venue comes with the tradition of tailgate parties. Now, I've been to the States before a couple of times, but I've not experienced a tailgate party. My understanding of it is people arrive in advance of the event in their car. They open the boot or trunk or the back of their truck, and they consume food and drink that they've bought or prepared in advance. And they do this with lots of other people, all sharing the experience, the moment. A mobile communal event, I guess. It's been suggested that FIFA are going to crack down on this. One can only assume that they would prefer you to buy food and drink from their own affiliated outlets. Although on the flip side, I did hear someone suggest that the prospect of lots of people all in one space carries the potential of an incident of the sort that FIFA wouldn't want tarnishing the event, which I can see as being a sensible way of looking at it. June 2025, President Trump signed off a travel ban that restricted the entry of travellers from 12 countries, and it came into force on the 1st of January 2026. However, two of those nations, Iran and Haiti, are both participating in the World Cup. Both of them with full restrictions. And then there are partial restrictions applying to both Ivory Coast and Senegal. Again, both partaking in the tournament. The hoops those fans will have to jump through are incredible. Appointments at embassies just to be told they can't attend. And in order to travel to the United States from England, visitors require an ESTA. It's an electronic system for travel authorisation. It means you can stay there for a period of 90 days without a visa. Generally, they're a formality. Although for those with previous convictions, they too may have to jump through a few hoops. However, in early December, the American government added to the condition of entry the addition of 5 years social media history. Donald Trump saying,
We just want people to come over here and safe. We want safety. We want security. We want to make sure we're not letting the wrong people come enter our country.
This then got people trawling through their socials, be it Facebook, Twitter, or others, looking at what they may have previously typed and put out into the digital world. Christmas and New Year came. If fans were hoping for a bit of respite, it wasn't to be. Early January, and Trump ordered a military strike on Venezuela and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro. He then continued his threats he had made to take Greenland, an autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, a country who, at the time, was still in with a shot of making the finals, as they were in one of the European playoffs, although in the end they wouldn't make it. However, it was events that followed on the 7th of January in Minneapolis, when Renee Good was shot dead whilst in her car by American Immigration Customs Enforcement Officers, or ICE agents. This caused outrage across the world and was followed by the killing of intensive care nurse Alex Pretty, again in Minneapolis, again by ICE agents. Fans were asking the question, would they be safe? A justified question. This, of course, alongside the well-documented use of guns in the country. And it was now that a German FA official mooted the prospect of boycotting the tournament. Oki Gottlieb, a DFB vice president and president of German side St. Pauli, told the Hamburger Morgenpost newspaper, "I really wonder when the time will be to think and talk about a boycott concretely. For me, that time has definitely come." And it was now that more and more memes and petitions were beginning to appear, generally sending the same message: boycott the World Cup. How much of these have had an effect? We will probably only know once the tournament begins, but the noise was getting louder. I mentioned about Iran being the third nation to qualify for the tournament back in March of 2025. Less than a year later, on the 28th of February, both the US and Israel launched violent attacks on Iran. This is the first time that a World Cup host nation had attacked one of its participating nations. And of course, this has escalated somewhat with major infrastructure damage and the loss of many innocent lives. A war that has had an effect now on the everyday lives of people, not just in Iran, but around the world in one way or another. Iran are scheduled to play 2 games in California and 1 in Seattle. And they requested that they play their matches in Mexico, which FIFA has rejected. And I understand that, as it is late notice to change schedules and venues. It's nigh on impossible. But in a situation such as this, then there needs to be a contingency plan of sorts. To make matters worse, Trump then posted on March the 12th on his own Truth Social platform,
The Iran national soccer team is welcome to the World Cup, but I don't really believe it is appropriate that they be there for their own life and safety.
FIFA, about that peace prize. I've already mentioned Gianni Infantino referring to the World Cup as 104 Super Bowls, and famously, with the Super Bowl, it has its halftime show. In its early days, it was just college marching bands, which evolved into the event we now know. There was the New Kids on the Block in 1991, Gloria Estefan in 1992, and I think it really started to be the event we now know it as in 1993, when Michael Jackson was the star. His 12 minutes of pure American razzmatazz, highly polished performances, is designed for TV. And Jackson has been followed by the likes of U2, the Rolling Stones, Madonna, Beyonce, to this year, Bad Bunny performing at Super Bowl 60. And let's once again refer back to the Club World Cup. Chelsea against Paris Saint-Germain. A halftime show was introduced there. The pitch quickly converted into a stage for J Balvin, Doja Cat, Thames and Emmanuel Kelly, all to perform on. So it should come as no surprise when FIFA said this World Cup final will feature a halftime show. A show that will be curated by Coldplay's Chris Martin, who will no doubt perform, but alongside some other artists. And it's something that Infantino has said will be the biggest show in history. So we can basically be assured that the traditional halftime break will be longer than 15 minutes. Don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with the Super Bowl halftime show. It's evolved into what it is now, and some people will probably remember the performances rather than who won the game. But it's not a tradition of our round ball game. The halftime show, whilst being entertainment, is basically a commercial platform where artists will benefit through future sales. So let's return to where I started, and Adam Crafton from The Athletic initially posted about the cost of transport in New Jersey, costing $100 for a return train journey from New York Penn Station to MetLife Stadium. On the 17th of April, it was announced that fans going to the stadium would now be charged $150 for the return fare, a fare that would normally cost $12.90. That's 11 times more expensive. Or you could take the bus for $80. Now, there will be fan-organised coaches that are cheaper, but you've got to find a space on those. And then there are Ubers, but they will be in big demand. And with demand comes dynamic pricing once again. Back to that train fare. Why is it so expensive? This is New Jersey Governor Mickey Sherrill.
You may have seen some recent headlines about transportation costs for World Cup games in New Jersey. So let me tell you exactly where things stand. Our administration inherited an agreement where FIFA is providing $0 for transportation to the World Cup. Zero. That leaves New Jersey Transit with a $48 million bill to safely get 40,000 fans to and from every game. At the same time, FIFA is making $11 billion off of this World Cup and charging fans up to $10,000 for a single ticket for the final. I won't stick New Jersey's commuters with that tab for years to come. That's not fair. So here's the bottom line. FIFA should pay for the rides, but if they don't, I'm not going to let New Jersey commuters get taken for one.
Call me incredibly naive, if you will. But surely they knew this tournament was on the horizon, and they could have prepared a timetable whereby they added a few more trains to the schedule on match days. Could have added a few more staff, drivers, etc. for those 8 games, those 8 days. I'm going to hazard a guess it doesn't match up to that $48 million. Everyone is trying to get their slice of the pie. You price gouge, we'll price gouge. Although I think, in the essence of fairness, for our game against Croatia in Dallas, it appears that the station that serves the stadium, the AT&T, the fare will be free to ticket holders. And in Philadelphia, whilst it's not us that are playing there, it appears that they are laying on free services to and from the Lincoln Field Stadium. A stadium that's hosting 6 matches, 5 group games and a round of 16. I genuinely feel for both Canada and Mexico in this World Cup. They've come together in this joint venture and have basically been tarred with the same brush, all because of America and FIFA. One last point, and we might as well end on a giggle, as I think we need one. On the 23rd of April, a peculiar news story emerged. Whilst I don't think it carries a lot of weight, the fact that it's been given coverage shows how farcical this run-up has been. Various news agencies, including the Financial Times, were reporting that US Special Envoy to Donald Trump, Paolo Zampoli, had suggested to FIFA that Iran should be replaced by Italy. Zampoli, an Italian native, is trying to patch up the broken relationship between the Italian Prime Minister and Trump over comments made by the Pope and his thoughts on the Iran war. Zampoli even went on to say, I quote, I'm an Italian native, and it would be a dream to see the Azzurri at a US-hosted tournament. With 4 titles, they have the pedigree to justify inclusion. Unbelievable. For those that just need that quick refresh, Italy were knocked out by Bosnia and Herzegovina in their playoff final, meaning that this is their 3rd consecutive finals that they will miss. As I say, it's highly unlikely this will materialise, but just the fact this scenario is even being put forward is a farce. If anyone is to replace Iran, should the requirement be needed, then surely, as I've mentioned in a previous episode, it should be the United Arab Emirates who take their place, as they were the losers to Iraq in the 5th and final round of the Asian qualifying campaign. Clearly I think it's all an unnecessary conversation. But again, it's another thing where fans hear about this, they look at it, and they think to themselves, what has this World Cup come to? Whoever wins this World Cup will of course say it's been the best World Cup ever. I guess rightly so, as all the talking will have been done on the pitch, which is the sad reality of it all. There is all the talk and the outside noise up to the first game, and once the tournament begins, it's all put to one side. And then once it's over, it's pretty much forgotten. But I think that's the important thing now to remember. The next World Cup will be held in 2030. Well, already, as it's the centenary event, we know it's going to be held across 3 continents and 6 countries. But each of those countries need to ensure that the mistakes that have been made in the run-up to this year's event do not happen again. Do you agree? Have you become disillusioned with this World Cup? At what point did it lose its magic? Or are you excited for it? Is all the outside noise irrelevant? Let me know. Join me on the socials. Just search a 3 Lions podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it. I use the term enjoyed loosely there, but you know what I mean. And as I've said, if you are going, have a great time. And if one of those competitions come in, I may well see you out there. I will be back with you very soon with some more England-related content, and I hope you can join me for it. So until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.